Thanks, Ben, for having me. I really appreciate it. This is a great tool and a great resource to have. So again, Ben, thank you for having me. I've seen the lineup and it looks great. So the purpose of my topic really is, or the title of it is the importance of inclusion and being your true authentic self. And I'm Anthony Paradiso. I'm the owner and founder of AllThingzAP. So one of the things that, I mean, obviously this is not, we're not, you're seeing me through the camera, we're not obviously live, but one of the things I always point out during my presentations is that this is a judgment-free zone. This is a very, discussing diversity, inclusion, equity is a very tough conversation, and that we kind of just started the last few years. So I really try to, emphasize that this is a judgment-free zone. Normally, again, during this, I would have probably people will be commenting live here, but in the situation, we're not going to have that. But any event, my information and contact me will be at the end of the slide or the last slide, so you can always reach me that way or social media. So about me, I'm a husband. This is a picture of my husband and I. We travel a lot, or we did until everything happened. So this is what I think we're in Amsterdam. This is my nephew and niece, my parents. I work full time for Industrial UI Services, and I also consult through my AllThingzApp company. I'm also SHRM certified. I'm a part of the LGBTQ community. This is my dog Lizzie. I'm a part of the Garden State Council as the Director of Diversity and Inclusion for the state of Jersey. You can't really see it there because my picture's over there, but I was in the most inclusive list last year and this year. And then other things too, I'm part of the North Rockland, or the North Jersey Rockland SHRM chapter as the VP of D&I. I received my SHRM Foundation Veterans Work Certificate, and I'm also have the Inclusive Workplace Culture Specialty through SHRM. A little bit more. So I'm a husband, raised in a working class family, a proud uncle, first generation college graduate. I'm a gay cisgender male, member of Toastmasters, blogger, influencer. I do have a speech impediment, as you probably noticed, so I may have a little stutter here and there. So if you hear it, just and I go through these too because we all have vulnerabilities. So I want to make sure that we tell our story, we tell everything. Because again, that's how we share, and that's how we get closer. I love to travel, so I'm looking forward so when we can travel again. But obviously, right now, staying home and staying safe. And I'm a certified HR professional with a strong passion for diversity inclusion. So going right into it, I'm sure most of you, maybe some of you have not, but this is a famous quote: "Diversity is being invited to the party. Inclusion is being asked to dance." This is by Verna Myers. She's a D&I expert. She created this quote some years ago, and I always find it to be, it kind of really just jumps at you and really it kind of just gives you what, or at least kind of gives you a target as to what D&I is. So I always start off with that. So normally, if this is live, I would ask, what is diversity to you? Like, what kind of words come out to you? So while so as I'm saying this to you, think to yourself, or jot down notes of what diversity is to you. Just where you can do one word, a couple of words. While you're doing that, the definition that I found very useful is diversity is any dimension that can be used to differentiate groups and people from one another. It's about empowering people by respecting and appreciating what makes them different in terms of age, gender, ethnicity, etc. The list goes beyond what's on here. Diversity allows for explanation of these differences in a safe, positive, and nurturing environment. It means understanding one another by surpassing simple tolerance to ensure people truly value their differences. So, I mean, so as far as numbers, it's been known diversity definitely drives better business performance. Businesses with a healthy balance of men and women are 21% more likely to outperform their competitors. And the list goes on. 33% more are likely to outperform their competitors with a good mix of ethnic backgrounds. 87% on teams that are gender, age, and ethnically diverse make better decisions. Diverse workplaces generate 19% more revenue than less diverse work environments, and so forth and so on. And these slides will also be in PDF format. So if I'm not going to go through every single thing, but it will be there for you. Now, inclusion, again, think of what inclusion is to you. Jot down some words. Again, what jumps at you? This is a video that I want to play. Let me just, actually, I have to enable it. I'm sorry. Go back here. There's always problems. Just 1 second. Sorry about that. I don't know if I can play. Oh, I think it works. Here we go.
There are people out there that would consider me, quote unquote, I hate this word, but a terrorist.
As an Indigenous person, you were known as somebody who potentially could be a drunk, have substance abuse issues.
Being Indian, they have expected me to know a lot about computers.
It's sometimes a really unique experience navigating the world as a person with a disability who looks to be completely able-bodied.
He made a comment about, well, don't worry about this that's going on because you won't be here too much longer. You'll be off having your next baby soon.
Most women are, told they need to behave a certain way.
People really think that my generation is lazy.
Just another blonde waitress.
Hey, do you rap?
The only Black girl.
I didn't belong.
I guess kind of growing up, people made these assumptions about what I was supposed to be, but it was really eye-opening for me to realize that I had been making those same assumptions myself.
We all like to think that we're inclusive, but sometimes we don't actually step back and think, wait a second, did I hear everybody in the room? I mean, don't judge is the message, but it's also hard not to.
I always thought that every gay man was flamboyant and rude.
The older generation is set in their ways. Initially, I thought there was something weird about a girl who would want to be a camera operator because of the word cameraman, and we still have to work past these things and stuff.
I went into the school on my first day, and there's these little girls, and they're wearing hijabs, and I was really intimidated by that.
Have your initial judgments, but also be willing to learn.
My definition of inclusion is a world and a society in which constructed barriers have been torn down.
Inclusion for me is setting up an environment where everybody is comfortable.
Open to accept other people's opinions.
All individuals, regardless of their diversity, feel welcomed, feel respected.
It means that they don't have to try to be what others expect them to be.
Change is possible, but it takes the right person to make a change happen.
I had a shop floor supervisor who stood up for me and sent out a company-wide email saying that Robin has every legal right to use the women's change rooms. It's funny because you do find allies in some of the strangest places.
One thing we can do to support inclusion is to talk about it.
You have to demonstrate that you're committed to this.
Get to know people around you. Do something different. Learn something different. Learn about a culture.
Different races, different religions, different belief systems, and see what there's good in all those things.
Be an active listener. That's one of the things I practice with other immigrants as well.
Open up your mind and take your time and get to know someone instead of putting them in this box. Is showing that interest. It's going to surprise you. Ask me a stupid question. I don't care if it's a stupid question, just ask me.
I'm an open book and willing to answer them.
I don't see it as a negative thing. I see it as a teachable moment.
Just ask me how to pronounce my name.
It's simple. You decide that other people's feelings and experiences matter.
We need to have more uncomfortable conversations so that we can drive more inclusion. And oftentimes, it's not easy.
We're not there, but certainly we're on the right track.
And it's important, otherwise change will never happen.
My name is Shomodip Ganguly, but people call me Sam.
I am Layla Karim.
Mutsa Matanga.
Ms. Geneviève Leblanc.
Ashley Pasila.
Patrick Duff, Neil McLaughlin.
Melina Gotchling.
Rod Bolger.
Jessica Shue.
Kazim Marcano. I'm a chef and I forge metals.
A proud mother.
Forklift operator and a truck driver.
I envision a day when we can just be so accepting of each other, where we can make space for others.
So a very powerful a video. I found this video about a year ago, and I do love it because really to speak up for inclusion, we need to speak about inclusion. Having these tough conversations is essential, and this is where I tie towards the end, having telling our stories and being being our true authentic self is how we create and speak about inclusion, because we all have stories. So inclusion is an organizational effort and practice in which different groups or individuals having different backgrounds are culturally and socially accepted and welcomed and equally treated. These differences can be self-evident, such as national origin, race and ethnicity, age, gender, marital status, etc., educational background, training, sector experience. And another thing that's been talked about too is introverts and extroverts. That's been a wide discussion in the discussion around inclusion. Inclusion is a sense of belonging. It creates engagement, and again, I'll go over this a little more. But this is a few more things that are about inclusion. This is something I found too that I really like to I'm a visual person, so when I see this, it kind of just shows me what's going on. To the left part of the picture, you see scattered. You see scattered puzzle. It's a puzzle piece that's scattered, and then to the right of it, with the inclusion part, you see it more together. It's kind of complete. So what does inclusion mean? So when you refer to inclusion, to what degree to which diverse individuals are able to do? So they use their voice, participate in the decision-making processes within a group, the amount of power they have within that group. People of all backgrounds feel like they actually belong. So diversity inclusion drive a lot of things. These are some things that came to mind right away, but rates of innovation, engagement, results, business value, motivation, retention, performance, opportunity, civility, sense of belonging, and the list goes on. Research by Deloitte finds organizations with inclusive environments or cultures are 6 times as likely to be innovative and agile, 8 times as likely to achieve better business results, and twice as likely to meet or exceed financial targets. So it's not just the diversity part. You need the inclusion part with it, and both combined really can expand an organization's financial gains. And besides the financial part of it too, it's just the right thing to do. I wrote this a while ago, and inclusion is essential for diversity programs and initiatives to succeed. Diversity is extremely important, but diversity cannot sustain itself without inclusion. This is something we're really, I would say, the last year we were beginning to realize. Diversity has always been a topic of discussion. It's really grew since the 2016 election, and then from there we've learned that diversity is not only important, but so is inclusion. Without inclusion, though, if you hire diverse candidates, if they don't feel included, they're going to more than likely leave the organization, which then creates a low retention rate. So it's very important to have an inclusive environment. More inclusion numbers, and I'm just moving around my screen just so you can kind of see here. So teams with inclusive leaders are 17% more likely to report that they are high performing, 20% more likely to say that they make high quality decisions, 29% more likely to report behaving collaboratively, 10% improvement in perceptions of inclusion that increases work attendance by almost 1 day a year per employee, reducing the cost of absenteeism. So it's not just even the financial part of it, it's also you're seeing performance, decision making, engaging in collaboration with your colleagues, and then also being at work, attendance. And to even continue with the financial success, organizations with inclusive cultures are 2 times as likely to meet or exceed financial targets, 3 times as likely to be high performing, 6 times more likely to be more innovative and agile, and 8 times more likely to achieve better business outcomes. Now, COVID-19. This is something I added in, obviously, because we are in a we are in a situation where COVID-19, we're in a pandemic situation. So now kind of inclusion, diversity kind of, it changes a lot. A lot of organizations, unfortunately, they had D&I initiatives, and right now, because of everything going on, it's been sidetracked. I don't agree with that. I think D&I needs to be in the forefront. I have had my own webinars that I've hosted to keep the conversation going. But going forward with that, one of the things that we also have seen through this pandemic and COVID-19 is the mental health. Mental health has always been discussed, but it's really been discussed in great lengths. And I found this very simple. I don't take credit for this by any means. I found this on Instagram, and I use it practically every day with my team, either through my day job, my own consulting business, through volunteer work. I always kind of start off with this. It's a very simple thing, with the different colors and the hearts and how you are. So I really recommend you just do a mental health check. You can search for it, and it's just an easy way for us to discuss how we're doing. Because when we are in these Zoom meetings and these virtual meetings, it's not just about going right to discussion about business. It's also about how we're doing. So kind of going forward with that too, when you're having a meeting, don't just go right into the meeting and just go right into, the daily tasks of the day. Go and, actually have a discussion. The leader of the meeting should pause, talk before the meeting starts, or even when the meeting starts. Share some of your personal selves. All of these things create innovation and create more, create an atmosphere of being comfortable to discuss further ideas that all started because we had a simple conversation about what our kids are doing, or discussion about dogs or pets, so whatever the case may be. Just pause and talk. Don't just get right into business. Get back to the mental health part again. The stats show clearly that mental health has risen since COVID-19. And also, one of the things that's very important is, for companies to realize is that exactly what this says. If you want to attract and retain a workforce, right now you're sending a message to your employees what your true colors are. So it's very important to really do the right thing, do what's best for your employees, and whatnot. Pathways to an inclusive environment. This is what I found a way of how we can get there is. Is to create a clear vision and mission, adjust to the audience, listen and listen carefully. That's really important there. Don't just talk, but listen. Creating clear set of expectations of behavior that promotes inclusion. Having an environment where it is safe to have vulnerabilities. That's also another important thing. Sharing your vulnerabilities, like I did in the very beginning, sharing my stuttering, my stutter problem that I may have. It's shared. Be proud of your vulnerabilities, because they make you who you are. Include people with different points of view. A greater emphasis with unconscious bias training. Artificial intelligence, working together to minimize biases. I know Ben has a book on AI. This is going to be a big thing, artificial intelligence. So work together to minimize our biases. Developing shared form of communications. Be transparent. How you walk the walk. There's much more to this, but being that I don't have much time, one of the things you can do, and you don't have to be a CEO, but one of the sites that I recommend going to is ceoaction.com. They have an unconscious bias training. They actually have a bus that goes around the United States for unconscious bias training, but they also have other really great tools that I recommend going to. They have great videos. They also have at the I Act on Pledge. So you as an individual can pledge to have an inclusive environment, and you also can have your CEO of your business do it as well, which I highly recommend. I did it for my company, AllThingzAP. I really recommend doing it. It's a great source of information. So again, it's all the information's right there. It's ceoaction.com. And how do we? I believe really storytelling and being your authentic self ties in with the diversity and inclusion part of things. Being who you are is really important. So how do we do that? Tell your story. tell your story. It's useful, it's inspiring, it's important. Even though you may think it's not, it really, really is. So tell yours. Storytelling is a way to create more understanding around the concept of inclusion. Everybody has a diversity inclusion story, even those you least expect. There was an illustration I seen, I don't know, a few years ago. We have a boardroom with all middle-aged white guys, white men who are in a boardroom, and they're bald, and they each have above their head a squibbly short story about them, and you see that all of them have a story. So we really do. We all have a story. We have to make sure we share that story. Sharing the stories either now with our Zoom meetings, going in the very beginning. If you're a leader, kind of going into your story. If it's maybe if you have a team event, sharing a story. The shortest connection between two strangers is a story, and that story leads to inclusion, diversifies and engages the actual work environment. So it's very important. My story, and this is I put this on Instagram for a long period. I wasn't comfortable in my own skin. I was pretending to be someone I wasn't. Years later, I couldn't be happier. Why? I'm my true authentic self. Since being true to myself, I couldn't have a better life. Life has its ups and downs, but it's truly much easier when you are you. So my story, very quickly, in my mid-20s, I came out. Before then, I was really leading a life of, I wasn't being who I was. I was in a career that I wasn't happy in. And right when it was not easy, but when I came out and I was who I was, it took me, at least probably about 10 years to really get comfortable telling my story. And I really do enjoy sharing it now. I mean, there are times it could be it's a little nerve-wracking, but I know sharing my story helps other people. And it just, again, it creates an equitable and inclusive environment. According to the national, I'm just gonna move my screen here a little bit. Sorry about that. According to the National Storytelling Network, storytelling is interactive. Storytelling uses words. Storytelling uses actions such as vocalization, physical movement, and our gesture. Presents a story. It encourages the active imagination of the listeners. So it connects. So it's very important that we connect inclusion to storytelling. So I hope after all this, within the next few weeks or whatnot, while you're doing maybe a virtual meeting, we can kind of, again, the story doesn't have to be long. It could even be a short story, but those stories create innovation, create engagement, create a sense of belonging. Share your unique story. Encourage others to do the same. Unique experiences are assets that make us better employees, better companies, and by extension, better societies. Highlight something unique about your personal history, D&I experience, or commitment. I really can't explain enough how important inclusion is in an organization. And I really am a firm believer that with storytelling, we can create a high level of inclusive of an inclusive environment in our workplace. So most important, I really want you to be you, be your authentic self. Please remember, we are in this together. I know we've heard a lot of that right now during COVID-19, but we really are. We have to work together to build an inclusive environment, to create a diverse atmosphere in our workforce. Any questions, you can always contact me, and really, truly, to be well, be safe. I know there's a lot going on right now, so please take care of yourselves, your loved ones. My information to contact me, it's aparadiso@live.com. You can find me on social media. I'm on Instagram, on Twitter, AllThingzAP. The company my firm is AllThingzAP.com. It's right there. Any questions, you can always just email me, and I'll be more than happy to answer. And that is it. Again, thank you so much. I appreciate your time, and I hope you remain safe. Thank you.